For anybody who doesn't know, I am Captain Crabs. I have been streaming about 8 years. Can you guys hear me okay back there? Good? Back there? No? Okay. I have been VTubing for about 3 years. By day, I am a senior marketing artist in the game industry. I've been in the industry for about 16 years. I do a lot of like game trailer stuff like that. I'm also a DJ, and I DJ as Captain Crabs and on MAGFest stages. So, and I do a lot of other things, but one of the things I got addicted to was live 2D. My first model was a crab that looked like this, pretty much, and it was from an emoji I made for the crab rave back in the day. And I was like, I want to make a VTuber model when they started getting bigger, and I paid a guy on $5 or $50 to rig one. And it was garbage. It barely moved. His hands could do this, and he had like an open and close, and it was creepy. And we call him OG Crabs because he's kind of creepy. I even have alerts for the channel on it because I originally started with a voice modifier and tried to do this like baby voice thing on it. And it was super creepy. So we have like him laughing as an alert people can trigger on Twitch. Yeah, like my second one, I was like, I'm going to learn how to do this program because I want more control over it. I want it to look good, like I want to figure out how they do it. And so I did it. I rigged this character, which is basically this is how Captain Crabs looked. He looks like this now, like this one. But and I learned how to do it with humans. I started doing commissions for a while. I would rig other people's models. And then I also started the Captain Crabs Yoga Club, which was basically loosening up other people's models. So people would come to me with their model and they're like, it's stiff, it doesn't do this, I want booba physics, I don't want booba physics, and they were like, just can you fix my model, and I was like, sure. And so I would go and loosen them up basically, like where before they could only do this, they could suddenly move their body and they could, their hair would go the correct way with physics and stuff like that. And so now I do live 2D a lot. I don't do commissions as much as I used to because it's time consuming. But we're gonna do a rig. We're gonna try to rig this. I don't know if I can do it in an hour. So I picked the simplest one I could possibly do, which is this crab. I will show you what some of the other ones look like they can do though. Does anybody here have experience doing live 2D before? Yeah? 3D, you've done 3D? Is it like through, I don't know what's it called? Yeah. I've done a little bit in 3D, but I have not spent as much time on it because...
So my model was actually made on VR Studio.
Okay.
Right before you were able to take the hair template.
Yeah.
I'm a mermaid.
Okay.
And my entire tail is made out of hair.
Ooh, sounds time consuming.
And ever since they updated, I can't update my model anymore. So I went to a more simple format and I went into a 3D.
Nice. I'm trying to get V2. I have no internet on this laptop right now. I normally do tracking with an iPad. I know people like use it. The iPhones and iPads have the best tracking by far right now. Oh, I guess there's sound on the background. Hold on a second. Doesn't look like it's set to my camera. Okay. This is going to be really bad tracking because it's an integrated webcam, but how many people here have experience with, I guess, are VTubers? How about that? How many people here are VTubers? Okay, so you got a few. Okay. Let's see if it starts here. Calibrating. Hello? Anything? Let me see if I can turn this sound down. I didn't realize this background had sound on it. There it goes. So the tracking will not be as good on this because it's literally like an onboard. But this is how my character looks. His hands are actually rigged to my eyebrows. So if my eyebrows go up and down. And like his legs are actually they just bend depending on how I bend my head. He has no body tracking whatsoever. He's literally a head sticking on the screen. So he can go up and down. And I think I've made 36 costumes for this guy I can trigger through different things. He can also well, it's not going to do it on here. He actually has a smile when you use an iPad or iPhone. So like it actually tracks your smile, and his eyes will kind of go up. Like he's smiling, his cheeks will glow. They do a lot of different ones that you can do. I brought a few. Like I bought a human model. This is a cyberpunk guy I made. Oh, actually, this is the Capt Crabs human. Never mind. So this one is human. He's got like a little bit. Let me back away from the camera a little bit. He has tongue tracking. If you had like I said, iPad and iPhone can do tongue tracking, so he can stick his tongue out and everything else. And if you use, there's a few different programs that can track a little better. He also has the crab, which the crab actually moves with him on the shoulder, so it kind of bounces around. He has full physics and full body. You know, he can actually take off his jacket and stuff. I'm not going to do that because everybody calls him thirst crab, crabs. But I actually drew him this way because I wanted to be able to give him different shirts and stuff, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I gave him full upper body. He cannot take his pants off. But yeah, I just wanted to show you some of these. Yeah. No. Oh, I guess some of these triggers do work. Okay. Hold on, that is not it. So he takes his hat off. Oh, there he goes. Yeah. He can take his crab off too, but. This guy can do a bunch of DJ stuff. He can jump. He can do rock hands and wave and. What'd you say?
What do you use to draw the parts?
The parts?
Yeah.
I do it in Photoshop and I do Affinity Designer. So I do a lot of vector. This guy is not vector. This guy was drawn on all Photoshop. All these other characters are vector art. So like I did this one. This is a commission I did for a streamer named Sile. And she wanted a cute chibi cactus. She has like a human 3D model she uses. But now she seems to use the cactus all the time because people want her to see the cute chibi cactus. And she has a really high-pitched voice. And this cactus can do a few things, which I don't know if I have these. Oops. Sorry. The G-Force experience. No, I don't think I have them triggered. So this one has like maracas and can do like different outfits and stuff. And, you know. But anyways, yeah, like this one was supposed to, I tried to do a more 3D so the spikes rotate. See? And he goes left and right and stuff. This one doesn't bend as much because it's cactus, so. But yeah, this is kind of like the stuff that I end up rigging. These are all vector art, these ones here. This is a basic one, slime. This one has physics, so he's jiggly. I actually made this for my 8-year-old. He wanted to do it. We ended up making it into a plushie and everything. We sell it at our booth. So, but he wanted a green slime with bugs in it. So the bugs kind of moved. You can see they're like moving with the breathing in it, and it's, you know, doesn't have any special things. Just kind of. I've made like 5 different slimes at this point, but yeah. But anyways, these are the ones like I end up making stuff like this. I like the chibi stuff myself, so I do a lot of chibi stuff. But I have done humans. We are going to do, I'm better start on this or we're never going to get through it, but we're going to start from scratch on a rig. And if anybody has any questions during this, just throw them out, okay? Because I'm going to have to kind of burn through it to get anything done. Yeah, what's up?
What's the program you're using?
So which one?
The program.
That's VTube Studio. Oh, you know what? I even have slides for this. Oh. My DJ session was at 12:30 to 1:30 last night. I am tired. Let's just put it that way. Here we go.
Off-topic question. Let's get your mouse to look like that.
So there's a free program. It is called, here it is, Custom Cursor. It's free, no ads on it, and you can download thousands of cursors. And there's even a browser extension version, so if you want it in the browser. It's pretty awesome.
Very cultured collection.
Oh yes, as you can see. Yeah, I pretty much, of course I have Mr. Crabs. But it's called Creepy Mr. Crabs, which I think is funny. Yeah. But they have thousands on there. It's free. It's pretty awesome. Oh, here it is. Okay, so let's see. Let's start with this one. Yeah, see, I did make a panel with graphics. Hey! And thank you for reminding me, by the way, because I totally spaced out. So yes, here This is the one up in the top corner behind Iron Mouse. That's actually one I did of myself. We call him Merch Guy because everybody, when they ever saw me, was just the guy at the booth. So they call him Merch Guy, so we just kind of kept the name. Okay, so this is, I'm showing you this one. I just turned the audio down, but. So this is, VTube Studio also has, this is more advanced stuff, and you can do audio tracking. So if you see like the light on the arm is blinking and the meter will go up and down on his arm and on his earphones. It's using a lot of trickery to do this, but you can actually do it in VTube Studio. You can turn it on to track any audio source. There you go. And you can see the tongue going up and down on that one. This guy went through a lot of different versions. He was like a cyberpunk guy for a while. But yeah, there's like different ways you can do. Here's one I did. And he has different animations, like this one coming up here. Yeah, that was my Halloween costume last year. The most wholesome Animal Crossing character ever. That's what I said. This is just a little quick thing. This is some of the models I've rigged. But I wanted to show you because you can see like the diversity of different types of models that people have had and stuff. Obviously some of mine are in here too, but, and you can kind of see how like some of these are moving. Like that's a jellyfish I did. Yeah. I like to stick to the super cute chibi stuff, as you can see, but there is some humans in there too. Buttons, yay! I made him into a plushie too. He's a big squishy plushie. Yeah, see the left one was what I did to his original model when I loosened it up. So you see like there would be one that's loosened and one isn't. Some are more extreme than others. Some people just wanted me to remove stuff from their model, like, you know, like their boobs were too bouncy, or, you know, like some people just don't want it, you know, like when they're family friendly and they don't want that. Yeah. You might recognize some of these. Some of these, like I did these for a video game. We wanted a character we could just animate for it, so. That was a singing banana. And see, like this one, she drew it all herself, and so she's like, "Hey, I drew one. Can you rig it?" I'm like, "Yes, if it's layered correctly," you know. But you know, you can do a lot of different things. I mean, there's quite a lot of diversity you can do with these things. Does what does? For me, because I'm comfortable with vector art. I am not as comfortable drawing from scratch. I have a Cintiq and I do use it, but it's not my main field of interest is I do After Effects animations for a living. So drawing from scratch is not usually one of my biggest strong suits. Yeah. Let's see. That song? Oh, you know, I want to be fearless, it's called. Yeah. This is something I'm showing you. There's actually more of these on their website, but this is an official live 2D animation. I wanted to show you guys that live 2D is actually used for other things than VTube rigging. It was not created for that. It's actually an animation program, like Flash, which is now called, I think it's called Animate. This is just a little quick one they did, but this is all done in live 2D. Yeah, so they have another one that's really long. I was going to show you guys, but it's super long and it's amazing. So check out their, I think it's just live 2D on YouTube, but they have there's some amazing people that work on these things. But yeah, here's the programs I use on a regular basis, which is I use Photoshop because I'm used to it. And I pay for Adobe because of work stuff, so like I have the whole suite. There's obviously a lot of other programs. Clip Paint Studio is a really popular one for people that draw VTube stuff. I use VTube Studio. It really is like the industry standard at this point. I don't think there's anything better. I started with PRPR Live, which is another program on Steam. They're both on Steam. PRP Live also has a free version. They both do. It's basically you're paying for advanced tracking if you pay for it. But it's well worth like the $15 or whatever it is. Live 2D Cubism is the standard that everyone rigs their models in. All of HoloLive, all of Ninja Sanji, they rig them in Live 2D. Everybody does. There really isn't a lot of other options, to be honest. Let's see if I have another one. Oh, that's where to find me. But let's see, do I have another one on here? Let's see. Okay. Well, anyways, let's start throwing this in here. I'll show you guys how it works. Ooh. Oh no, I need the internet. Is there a connection here? Give me 1 second. Nobody look at what I'm doing. I'm just kidding. It won't work for you if you don't have the badge number on it, so give me a second. I didn't realize it was going to ask me for the license on that. Yes. Ignore the security. Mag is unsafe. Okay.
There's so many passes.
Yeah, they have an unsafe connection here. Yay, we got internet. Yay. Okay. Retry. Okay. So I have this open in Photoshop. So what I did with this, for anybody who's ever done this before or done layers, I don't know if you guys have any experience in this, but basically what you have to do, and this is a very simple guy. I didn't want to do an anime character. There's no way I'll get that done in an hour. So this guy has very simple, just each layer is a different part. So his eyes are one part, his claw is one part, each leg is separate. His mouth is, let's see, this is the interior of his mouth. This is his lower mouth with the connected jaw, and this is his upper mouth. When you do like an anime character, it's gonna be way more advanced than this, but he's gonna be pretty basic. So basically what you do is you end up doing this as a Photoshop file. Let me make sure this is in RGB. Yep. Has to be RGB. Are you talking about the up in the corners? Yes, sorry, those are the eyelids, yes. There's tricky ways to make the eyelids work. With a crab, I have them blink like this, just up and down, because you could do like just a dropping, or you could just squish the eyes depending on the anime character. Like the slimes, I just have the eyes go, because it happens quick and it doesn't matter, but let's see, open. All right, so we're just gonna import this in. Live 2D, hopefully you guys can see this okay. This is the basic stuff they give you. So like right off the bat, you can see all the parts are here.
So you import the Photoshop?
Mm-hmm. Yep, the layered Photoshop file. Mm-mm. Nope. The only catch is it has to be RGB. It won't take CMYK. I found that out the hard way. You keep trying, it doesn't tell you it's not taking it. It just doesn't do it. So you're like, why is my file not working? Yeah.
Also, I heard Live 2D only takes Photoshop files, but
Mm-hmm.
most like art programs actually do convert Photoshop stuff.
Mm-hmm. It's a standard, so like a lot of them will convert to it. And if you can't do that, there actually is free online websites that will convert. If you search for like whatever to PSD, there's websites that'll just pop it over. Yeah.
If you're working in Illustrator, you save it as a Photoshop file.
So what I do in Illustrator, when I do Illustrator, I've switched to Infinity Designer. I still open it in Photoshop and then save it out as a Photoshop file because it'll layer things weird, and you want to make sure that everything is rasterized. You don't want to have effects on it or like anything like that. So I go into Photoshop just to make sure it's a super clean like layer file. You can have folders in it though. You can like put a layer and then have a group. It will import those. As you can see, like right here, I had the whole thing grouped under crab, so it's crab. You could group the eyes and it'll pre-group them it'll actually import that. So, but it will not import any effects or anything like that applied to it. So you got to make sure that's all rasterized down to one layer, like with all the effects on it. Which one? So Affinity Designer is the Affinity's version of Illustrator. The only thing I like about it better is it handles layers better. It doesn't import into Photoshop as good as Illustrator does. Like Illustrator is like straight up. So sometimes you will have to go and merge groups and stuff like that. Like it doesn't always know how to sort it, but I like it because of the layer management. It's so much better. Like Illustrator just needs an update really bad. It's not user friendly. So yeah, I use Photoshop on a daily basis every single day for work. So, but Illustrator's like only for my fun projects, but yeah. But like Infinity was like, I think when I got it, it was $50. It goes on sale all the time. There's like a suite of them, but I haven't used any of the other stuff, so I couldn't tell you. But let's do this real quick. So we have, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take this all the layers down here. So this is your deformers. This is where everything will be, like if you make any groups and stuff. Up here is basically your files. All this matters is if you want, like say you want the eye to be in front of the body, you put it in front of the body on here, like a layers. Like this is like Photoshop layers. So like if I move the eye down, past the legs, it goes behind, like that's literally what this is, and it's where your files come in. If you want to delete a layer, you can just delete it up here too. And this is where you actually do everything. So what I usually do is I group everything. Oops, gotta grab it. All right, and we're going to go up here, and this thing here is this one are basically your livelihood right here. This one is your deformer, and a deformer is kind of like a group that can be deformed. So it's like a group that you can bend and move. And it's kind of how you do layers and pre-comps if you're an After Effects guy. You just keep piling them together. So what I do is I always take the whole body, like everything, group it together, because you never know if you're going to want to have some way to move the whole body at once. And then I usually end up going, oops, I didn't even grab them. Put them all in there. You can just drag them. So this is the whole body in here. So if I ever have to move, like just grab the whole thing and move the whole body. Oops, looks like I'm missing a leg. Wait, did it grab it? No, it's still sitting there. Where's the leg? Why is the leg not in there? Yeah, he doesn't need it, right? Is it in there? It's right here. Huh, that's weird. Oh, I did. You know what I did, didn't I? Not on the whole body. Well, that's okay. We don't need it right there. Look, it's all grouped. It just keeps the same thing. If you like deform it, it's going to deform everything in a weird way. See? I honestly, when I group it like this, I never touch that usually. But if you need to, like, say, move the whole body, like, if you want to make a body track, there's like this one up here. This is rotate, so you can click it and like a full body rotation, right? So you want to make a full body rotation. You hold Alt and you can move this thing. Oops, if I can get a hold of it. It's so tiny on the screen. I'm not grabbing it. Oh, sorry, Control, hold Control. You can move it here and this will rotate. So this is, like I said, it's grouped. So whatever's on the top, it goes underneath it. So this will move everything on a rotation. And you will use these, trust me, for like head rotations. It's nice because if you try to say if you try to do this, right, you take this whole group here, which is weirdly just showing the leg, and try to rotate this to an animation, it will try to warp it in weird ways. I'll show you here. Like, say we're gonna put 2 points on this. This is eye smile. It doesn't matter. We'll just grab something, right? It put 2 points of animation. So it's like eye open, closed, or eye smile. If you go here and you try to rotate this thing, when it does the animation, it's gonna go, see he shrinks, all right? When he goes up and he shrinks. But if you do it with a rotator, it's not gonna do that. If you do this, you have to go to each point, like add another point here and try to shrink him back up to the size it's supposed to be. It's not fun, and it's a weird quirk about this. I don't know why it does that, but it does that. Let's throw the eyes all together. So I usually label my layers. I don't know if you guys can read this from here. I label them, this is an old editor trick, but I always do LT something, RT something for left, right, because you don't want to make them super long because depending on your screen size, it's kind of hard to read them if they're super long. So I always take like the eyes, we got eyelid up and down, and we got eyelid here, and we're gonna group all of these. Let's see if I can grab them. So we highlight them, go with this. Actually, you know what? Let's move the eyes first. We're gonna move the eyelids to where they need to be, right there. And now he's getting his stink eye. Okay. So we'll grab that, and then we'll group that together and call it LTI. All right. And we'll just rig this eye right away. So this is going to be his eye. We're going to have to animate it separate. So what we can do, so here's something that's really useful. It's very quirky. It doesn't always like to work, but it's really useful and you can use it. So if you click the eye, like the actual eye, right? So right now the eyelids, I made them bigger than the eye. Use a clipping ID. This is gonna get a little complicated, sorry. It's clipping ID and we're gonna call it LTI, all right? So what you can do is you can actually set these to clip so they only show up, where is it? Oh, oops, I wrote it on the wrong one, sorry. Here it is. The ID, sorry, not the I. I don't know why I put it in the clip. Call it L. Actually, let's see if we can do a space. I, not I. There we go. Oh, no, didn't think it would let me. Okay, so now the ID of this one is LTI. And then we're going to go up to these ones, and we're going to make the clipping ID LTI. Did I type it wrong? Yep. LT, I capitalized I, didn't I? There it goes. Okay. LTI. Okay, so it's clipping a little bit, as you can see, but now we can move it up and down, and it's not gonna. See? And so what you can do is you can do stuff like this, move them out. And we gotta find, that's the left eye. Where is it? IL open. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set keyframes. You can do like, here's 2 keyframes. They'll set one at the beginning and the end. You can do 3 if you want a middle keyframe. And you can add keyframes anywhere along these. So what we'll do is we'll set both of these to have keyframes. The program does not like you to set keyframes for an object, for one of these objects, more than 3 times. It will complain about it every single time. From what I found, you can do about 12 of them before it really actually causes a problem. So, but it doesn't want you to do more than 3. So like if you wanted to tag this and like browse for some reason, and wanted your browse to also affect it, it just keeps warning you that you're using too many things on one eye. But so what we'll do is like eye open, eye close. So when it goes, this is the weird part, eye open, the first keyframe is actually closed, which doesn't make any sense because you think the eyes would be open first, but it's closed. So what we'll do is we're gonna do this real simple on this one. So got eyes closed. Then we'll go to eyes open. And since we already set it, eye closed, yeah. And that's gonna track your blinking automatically in VTuber Studio. So we can do the same one with the other eye real quick. Bless you. Let's group these things together. Naming really helps, by the way. All right, so we're gonna do RT, RTI. Okay. And then we're looking for, sorry, the screen is really small. Where is it? I'm just looking at it. There it is. Okay. Oh, we got to do the clipping still. I'll call this RTI. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, because I'm just going to kind of like do this at once so we can get it through. But RTI. So these clipping masks are finicky at best. But they do work really good, and they're really cool for like, so you'll see sometimes VTubers will have like a animation pattern or something moving on their jackets and stuff. What they do is the same idea. They do the clipping, and then they have it animating with the breath. So you can have it like moving while you breathe kind of thing, and it'll go up and down. Or I've used it on some things where I wanted something just kind of moving on something, like the slimes where it's moving, the bugs are moving in the background, but they won't clip out of the, like if I move him or turn him, they move with it to more of a 3D effect, but they won't clip out of his body, or you won't see him outside of his body. All right, let's animate this really quick here. He's gonna have a very simple blink. Okay. All right, so we got blink, 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 blink. Oops, I did it backwards. I did exactly what I told you not to do. I'm sorry.
That's one job.
One job, I know. Okay, let's just move him up real quick. And this is exactly why I picked this character, because he'll be a lot easier to do. Okay.
So just by setting up the open and close, it'll get everything in between?
Yep. Tracks your eye, like if you squint and stuff, it'll do that. Like you can, so if you're doing a more complicated eye, like say you got an anime eye, it's rounded or weird shaped, like pointy or something. Usually what people will do is they'll actually, like I'm not bothering, I guess I could show you guys real quick how to do this, but you could actually go frame by frame and put more keyframes in to make it bend different direction, because obviously not everybody's gonna have square eyelids that go up and down. I'll show you real quick how to do that. So this is where it gets a little more complicated, is when you're deforming stuff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go up to this auto here, and this is picking a mesh. So like there's standard deformation, you can do your own custom ones. Like we'll probably do, let's see if deformation level works. Yeah. Okay, so that created a mesh for it, which means I can drag any of these points at any keyframe and it'll bend it. So what we'll do is we'll do a middle keyframe, which is you go here and you click keyframe. There's a keyframe right here. Boop. Yeah, and it added a keyframe. So what I'll do is at this point we're gonna merge this or bend it a little bit so it's more like warped. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go on here, and the ways you can do it is either you can just pull every little dot you want, which I recommend not doing. The other way you can do it is you can actually add bend marks. So this tool here is like a beezer. It does, you click, like we're gonna do a simple one, but all right, move that up a little bit. Okay, so what it'll do is it'll remember that wherever it was on each keyframe, and then you go to the arrow tool and you can move it, and it'll curve it. This one? I think it's called, yeah, Path Edit. Everything's got kind of a weird name, but it'll let you curve it. So like, see how it curved down, like upward, and then it kind of goes back? You'll use this a lot. Unless you, I have watched people that literally just pull every point. They do all the point pushing. There's also this tool here. This one I don't use at all, which is the brush tool. This one lets you slowly push points in chunks, like this. Ooh, it's gonna let me undo it, okay. That one I've seen people use that I feel like it's very time consuming and I feel like you can do it faster just doing the beezers, but the beezers can be weird on a very complicated, like shaded model. So maybe not as good for that. Let's go on to another part here real quick. How much? Oof, okay. Let's do body movement next, because this is gonna be, so this crab model doesn't really have much of a body, so there's not gonna be a lot moving on his actual body. So what we do is we do trickery for it. So what I usually do is like the claws, I'll group the claws together. We'll just make a group called claws. All right, and since he's head rotating, I'm not gonna worry about that. So what we're gonna, about the body, so we go to the angle, there's angle X, angle Y, and angle Z. It's this way, and then Z is this way. So I've seen a lot of VTuber models that don't have any Z, and I think that's a mistake. I think you should always put some, because the human body moves this way. It doesn't, like, you'll see a lot of models that are very stiff in their body, their head's like this, and they barely move, or they have just a tiny little thing. But you move your head. You don't just sit stiff all the time, just like that. So I think a little bit of body movement is always a good thing. But this one, you can go up to these, and you can actually hit this little thing and group them together, which I like doing. And then you can do all the body shapes. So, and then you just go up here, make points, and it'll put them in every direction. So you got left, right, left up, left down. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do some very basic things. So what I'm doing is I'm just gonna move the claws over, and then I'm gonna go the other way, move the claws over. Boop. And then you can copy paste. So you can just say, Control Shift C, or whatever program you're on, Control Shift V, and move them down. And then this one I'm gonna do the same. So that way when he turns that way, his hands go that way. And then I always go up here. So we go, this way would be up, so he'd be up and down. And then you do the same things for left. So I already have them all facing the same direction, so you just go up And this guy, he's gotta kind of go a little bit down. And same over here. There's a lot of repetition. Now, I'm not going to get into the fancy stuff where you can actually make it so they appear behind the body after a certain point, or they rotate, and you can make them appear behind the body. That gets way more complicated, so I'm not going to go into it today because we do not have that kind of time. To an extent, yes. I have not been super successful doing it. So I usually do a lot of trickery to get it done. But there is ways to do it. I wish I could tell you how to do it because that's something I don't spend a lot of time with. I'm going to group the eyes and do the same thing so that it turns. Mm-hmm. I did. Yeah, so basically what's happening is at a certain point, I'm shrinking like the spikes. They're shrinking as they're going left or right to make them look like they're going backwards. And then when it gets to a certain point, it just pops behind. So in motion, it looks great. If you would like turn super slow, you will see pop. But I made sure that it was warping to a point where you just don't notice that it's popping. And then it just kind of shrinks behind him. And then it rotates around, so it has a fake 3D effect, which is...
So it just has a one body.
Mm-hmm. No. It's a 2D look. It's 2D with a semi 3D effect is what I was going for. I was actually working on a giant mech at one point, trying to make it look 100% 3D, and it's so time consuming. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, so when you're motion tracking with
Yeah.
your iPad or whatever, do you have like a way of translating to what extent it does the exact rotation you did, or like a preset? So
I can show you that, yeah. In VTube Studio, you can actually adjust those settings to be less sensitive or more sensitive to your eye tracking. I highly recommend everyone do that when you do it because those settings are individual to a person. Like I don't like light, so I tend to squint a lot. And it made my characters look like they were just stoned 24/7. And it still happens sometimes when they're like with my human model where I'm just sitting there like this, and they're like, "Are you okay? Like your character looks like he's falling asleep." I'm like, "No, I just squint a lot. Like it's just part of my, thing." But you can tweak it so it doesn't track that. There's a lot of tweaking you can do in VTube Studio, and I highly recommend that's something to figure out because of how much work it actually will be, but it does make a difference highly for per model. I can show you that too. Yeah, you can render. Actually, after we get the eyes done, I'll render this out so you guys can see how that works. A lot of this is kind of eyeing it for this crab, so put it down here. Let's see. There is a. I didn't go down on this, did I? Just make sure his eyes are correct. All right. All right. Save. I gotta save. Because so there is a physics preview in here. The physics preview is probably the most finicky thing in this program. I find it crashes me a lot. So before we open physics, it's on modeling, you open physics scene blending. This actually lets you preview your model and any physics. And so you can actually drag the mouse around and he follows it. So you kind of see, for the most part, how it's working. Some things don't show up in here, but this does. And so you can kind of see like he's not looking down far enough. There he goes. Okay, yeah, so. Technically, you can actually use VTube Studio and you can use a mic and literally not have a camera, and you can use mouse tracking to stream. Like, you can actually set it up so it tracks your mouse and he's looking at your mouse 24/7. So you just move one mouse around the screen. I guess if you're just talking, if you're trying to play a game, he's gonna be like this the entire time. It's gonna be weird, but it is possible to do that. You can do it 100% without a camera, so. There's actually a program, plugin for VTube Studio right now that's in the works that is 100% audio driven. And basically it's like pre-baking animation. So the character, like, if you're talking low or high, it'll actually like tweak the head, and kind of go with it. So you don't even need a camera at all. And your character will mostly look like he's alive. It's pretty cool. It's just like in a beta right now though, so I have not been able to get a hold of it myself. But But yeah, like at any point you can take this. Before we save, I want to show you this. This little button here is your texture atlas. You have to render textures out, a texture plate here. I usually do, depending on your computer and how fast it is, I usually do like a 4000. This guy's going to be like a 2 in size. And what this is it puts all your textures baked together into this thing that the VTube Studio and stuff uses. You can, like if you delete this out, right? So if you import new stuff, it'll have them over here and you have to put them in texture atlas before you can export the model. You can actually just click them, place selected objects. They'll put them all on top of each other. You just hit automatic layout and you can set like how far away they are from each other and it automatically lays them out. If they are overlapping, you will see that overlap in the actual model. Like you will see that bleeding texture over top the other texture. So you got to make sure they're not touching each other. And then this always takes a little while.
Way to add paths and stuff?
To what? Add what?
Like add paths or accessories to the model?
So yes, there is. You can add them in here and then you can actually create a parameter for them. It turns them on and off. Let me export this first so you guys can see how this works. But there's the export for runtime and it's the Mach 3 is actually the VTube model things. There's a bunch of settings. I wouldn't check anything besides physics if you have physics. And you just hit OK. And then you pick the folder. I'm saving directly to the VTube Studio folder, so it should show up right away. And this could take a very long time. My Capt Crabs model, he takes about, I don't know, anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes to export at this point because I said 36 costumes, plus he can trigger a ukulele, he can trigger sword and root beer, and he has all these effects like hearts and
That's all stuff you control in VTube.
yeah, you control them with hotkeys, or if you have a Stream Deck, you can actually, there's a plugin for Stream Deck that comes with Stream Deck that you can turn on, where you can just literally trigger any animation that you have baked in your model on Stream Deck without having to put shortcuts. I ran out of shortcut keys on the keyboard. So, in fact, I was one of the people who fought heavily for them to add a third shortcut key because originally you can only do two keys, and I had used up my entire keyboard with triggers. And so like I had a cheat sheet next to me of like, I don't know how to turn this on. One of these is doing it. All right, so I exported it. Now we go back here. I'll show you what it does.
On the topic of shortcut keys, what would you recommend for like shortcut keys?
Well, if you're gaming on your same PC and you're using your keyboard, I forgot about that. It's going to be tricky. That's why, like, if you have a Stream Deck, use that because you don't have to set up shortcut keys. You do have to set it up in VTube Studio, each trigger, but you just don't set any keys to it. And as long as it's named, it'll show up in Stream Deck as an option you can turn on and off. If I had my Stream Deck, I would show you, but it's pretty simple. I can show you how to set up a trigger. So here he is. I haven't set an icon for him yet. And then you can do auto setup. That'll just set up the basic stuff. So give it a second here. What? Is it tracking you? I don't know. Let's see if the camera's connected. Says it is. Oh, no, it's not on. Okay. There it goes. Okay. Now he's moving forward and back right now. That's a VTube Studio thing. And like when I move my body left and right, he's like floating. This is great for people that only have half bodies, but maybe when you're full body, there's actually a thing to turn it on and off. So there is things in here like link blinking. If you don't want, like if you feel like your eyes are spazzing, like on a normal web camera, it doesn't always do the greatest. You can actually just link them so they always blink at the same time. You could say stay at post if you lose the character. If you go to this tab, the little guy here, this is actually going to have movement config. So this is what's making me float around. It lets you float different directions. You can move it left and right. And you can just turn it off and then he won't move anymore. Besides what you trigger like in the actual programming. And for my crab models, I always do this because I don't want him floating left and right. It's like a sliding thing. So now he's like moving, you know. Hey.
How does it know what parts are blinking?
It tracks your eyes. So I can show you how that looks. This gets complicated, so just a heads up on that. In that same one, and this little dude here, is all your setups. And this is the default stuff. So it's face left, right rotation, face angle, parameter angle X. This is the stuff you'll need to tweak if you want your model to be perfect, like for you. It gets confusing because of the way it's laid out. There's actually like, you can see the numbers here. So like this is actually tracking right here, this one, face left and right rotation. So when I rotate my face, you see the numbers going up and down? Let me go full screen here. It's going up and down. So you can see like when I rotate this way, it's actually going to almost 40, right? Because I can go like 46. And I go this way. So I could technically tweak this out to be, the high is going to be 46. And so it's a little slower to that direction. And then it's always negative the other direction. So now he's not going to turn as fast that way. You can also turn on smoothing up here and just drag it out so he's a little smoother. But I find it kind of lags behind if you go too crazy with it. You can also, another way to test it is you can actually turn on auto blinking or auto breathing. And so what auto breathing does is it just plays the animation. So it's playing it left and right. So you can see if something's wrong. If it's not turning when it's supposed to, you can see if the animation's actually correct. And if it's not, then you can tweak the settings more to get it to work. And same with blinking, like, yeah, like you can do like, so it goes face rotation. There's also lots of settings that are hidden in here that you have to add yourself. If you have like say an iPad or something with better tracking. Here's the eye open left and right. So like we could smooth these out like heavily. Let's see. My blink is, it's hard to see because my eyes are shut when I'm looking at the number. But let's see. Okay, 0.8 is when it's going out, negative 0.8. And up is only going to 80. So we could put this at 0.8. Let's see. And let's do this at negative 0.08. As you can see, the right one's spasming a lot more. This one's a little smoother, and you can just crank it up depending. With a standard, like this is probably the most garbage webcam you're gonna ever try to track yourself with. If you have like a Logitech, like a C90 or C930 or something like that, you'll get a little bit better as long as you have a bright lit room. For some reason, the Apple's tracking is just so good, and the Face ID they have. Like I can have that iPad with the room dark or flashing lights, and it still tracks me pretty good. So. Yeah, so I think it's the iPad 10 or higher, and the iPhone X or higher had the tracking.
So when you plug it in, what actually happens?
So there's actually a sync. So you have to install the program on your phone. You will need to buy a phone version of it though. It's not expensive, but you have to buy it on the phone and the computer on the desktop. And then they can actually Wi-Fi sync them, or you can connect them USB in. I usually just do Wi-Fi because I like moving it around. I have DJ set up one here, and I have my gaming here. So I just lift the iPad up, pop it over there. I use an iPad because the iPad costs $300 and the iPhone was like $600. So, and the iPad works just as well. The iPad, I got the iPad 10, which is like the $300 model, and it's got Face ID, which is the tracking you need for the. With that, you can do smile. It'll track smiles. It'll track. Technically, it's supposed to track anger, but I guess I don't have a good anger face. It doesn't seem to like my anger face. It tracks your tongue coming in and out. It can track a lot of stuff. You'd be surprised. And you'll notice the tracking's better too. Yeah. It does work with glasses. Mm-hmm. It won't work with a mask, I'll tell you that. But it will work with glasses, yeah. Tracks really good.
Another question is really interesting. So I'm wondering as well, like, is there like ways of using that tracking data on your iPad or iPhone in other software than this?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
all the data, how would you extract that?
That I don't know.
Okay.
That's software engineering. I don't.
Yeah.
That's beyond my knowledge. But yeah, no, there definitely is other programs that use it. I think you could sync the iPad tracking with the what's that program? VC Base and stuff too. So, which is the 3D stuff. I have not dabbled too much in the 3D stuff. So.
Yeah, that's it. So that's 3D stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I'm a big fan of the anime style 2D look. I like it to be 3D-ish, you know. I call it like 2.5D, you know, where it can kind of look like it's 3D. And if it looks really 3D but isn't 3D, I kind of like that. Like when you can do 2D that looks like 3D. Yeah, I just like that clean look. So that's just me personal preference. So. Yeah, what's up?
Quite a perspective of the thing. Is it too
Okay, so this is actually a 2D model, right? But when you rotate, if you get it right, like I have to do a lot more tweaking, it'll make him look like he's actually a ball, right? Like he's actually, you can see that he's 3D looking, but it's still 2D. It's just the way the hands are shrinking and moving. So instead of it actually being 3D, like normally what I would do is when he rotates left and right, I would take one hand and make it shrink a little bit, which adds the effect of it going backwards, which makes it look 3D. But it's not actually 3D, it's 2D. It's a 2D model. So I say it's 2.5D, and a lot of VTubers call themselves 2.5D avatars because it looks 3D, but it's not. It's actually a 2D model. It's 2D layers, it's flat, but looks 3D.
I did have a question about that. You said, so if you got like the iPad, then, and you got an app, you got the VTube Studio app for the iPad?
Yes, so there is an app on the phone you'd have to get to use it. You can get it on Android and everything else. I'm an Android user myself. Android does not have that Face ID tracking yet. I don't know why. And their tracking is not much better than a good, I mean, it's a good camera if you use it. Like you can use it as a webcam, and it's totally possible to use, but it's not gonna track all the mouth, like the tongue coming out and the smiles and anger yet. It just doesn't work. They don't have it on there yet. So, which is a bummer because I like Android and I would just use my phone. Having a giant iPad kind of sucks sitting in your desk. But yeah.
For good tracking, though, it's their in-house tracking for facial.
Yeah. Yeah, VTube Studio does not use anything but the Face ID and like normal Logitech cameras. Or normal Android cameras. So there may be a way to hack it. I don't know. There may be plugins in the works too.
I have the Logitech Spring Cam, so I don't know how well that tracks.
I think that's their 1080p, right? I have 4 Logitech cameras. They're not bad. I was using a Logitech C922 originally. They was basically the C920 was like the streaming cam for the longest time. There's a C922 which is just like tiny bit better. There's a C930 which is their more wider, better one. And then it went to like the 1080p cam, and I think the one you're talking about was after that, which I think is just a replacement for the C90 and C92. But
It's quite pricey, but it's not that bad.
it's not bad. I mean, as far as webcams go, those are great. They just can't do things like tongue tracking and stuff like that. So, what's up?
Do you know if there's any use of the original Xbox camera, the Xbox One camera that has the depth sensors in it?
I don't. There may be a way to hack that in, but I've never seen anybody using
I
it.
was just curious because I have one at home and I was.
There's people that want to try to use a Kinect to track body with it.
That's what I'm talking about, the original Kinect.
By the way, VTube Studio can do hand tracking. I don't know if you guys knew that. Yeah, so they can't do arm tracking, they can't do leg tracking, they can track your hands. My human model can actually track my hands going up and down, and so I rigged the arms to follow, so you can do like this, and also all the fingers can go like this. It is not great. It needs a very bright lit room. They only have it working through the webcam too, so it doesn't work through the phone right now. But it's pretty cool. Like I can go like this with my character, and then sometimes his fingers are like, because it loses tracking, and it's like the most frame rate I've ever gotten is 9 out of it. So it's not quite there yet, but I've seen some people use it.
Out of curiosity, how difficult would it be to do tracking for 2 people in the same room?
So I've done it before. What we did was we had 2 webcams and we faced them directly at us as close as humanly possible to our faces, and just made sure the other person wasn't in there. Like my kids will come in, they'll try to sit on my lap, and of course the camera goes and gets them, and suddenly the character is doing whatever they're trying to do. So like you cannot be right next to each other, but like say if somebody's sitting here, someone's sitting here, you put the webcams in the middle, face them towards each other, you'll be fine. It could track like when I DJ sometimes I have my camera here and I'll be sitting this way, right? And it still can track your face pretty good. A lot of times what you'll do is you can actually turn off eye blinks when it turns to the side. And so what that does, it doesn't make your eye go like that, because when it gets out of tracking, it starts freaking out. And what I do is I have it turned on in VTube Studio where like when it gets to the edge, it just kind of like leaves the eye open. So that way my eye's not just freaking out like he's having a spasm. which is pretty nice. Or you can just turn on the dual, like I said, the linked blink makes a big difference. Because if your head's turned sideways and it still sees this eye, it'll just link it and not make this one just go crazy. So, but it does pretty good, especially with my iPad, like to track when my head's just completely turned. Yeah.
So is the regular iPad really the $10 price?
The iPad 10 and up. The $300 one that I have is like the lowest end iPad you can get right now, and that one has Face ID and it works fine. Like,
But you don't need to have a Pro.
it's not a Pro. It's literally the cheapest iPad they have. I mean, like I got it on Amazon for $300, and it goes on sale every once in a while. So, yeah.
I just wanted to mention if you are a developer, VTube Studio does have a GitHub and open source again.
It does, and there's a lot of good plugins. Like,
Yeah, so if you want to expand, extend, or see how they do anything, they also have a Discord for followers.
well, they have like they just added a feature where if you're a streamer, you can connect your Twitch to VTube Studio, and this is built in, and it'll actually rain down any emoji in your chat, and it'll bounce off your character. And it's pretty funny. And it'll sit, like if you, like on the Captain Crabs hat, it'll sometimes sit there. And if I don't move, the emoji just sits on my head. And like I have to tip it because it's got physics. And so like but every once in a while, people will just realize it's doing it. And they're just suddenly getting rained down on with emojis. There's also like the Twitch integrated, oh yeah,
The Twitch integrated.
throwing system.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you guys can figure out the anagram on that one. Is there But that one is really cool because people can trigger emotes, or they get to throw 3D models at you and they bounce off you, and your character reacts to it. So you can have them go like that, or you can have them literally get thrown off the screen. So it's pretty cool. They have other ones too. There was another one I'm testing that can track different audio levels. So it actually tracks treble, bass, and like super low like booms, and it tracks every one of them as separate levels, and you can have each one of those trigger different animations on your character. So what I have it doing is I have a DJ board that I can pull up, like an actual DJ board in my model, and it has different levels on it, and you'll see like the bass going up, you'll see the meters for the bass, but it's actually tracking to whatever the audio source is. And then you can also have the treble going up separate in the thing. So you can technically have like his hand going like this for treble and going like this for bass, and his fingers just going or something for something else, and it can track all of those and your voice. So there's all these plugins that people are making for this. It's pretty cool. Yeah. There's also ones that can change your color depending on things. Like people could change. There's a new one that can change your hair color and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. So like somebody could like redeem a channel point and your hair turns blue in your model. It's pretty cool. A lot of setup, because you have to do the work to make it work like that. But it's pretty cool. Like there's, good and bad ones out there, but there's a lot of them. A lot of them are on Ko-Fi too. Ko-Fi is where everybody seems to be putting them, or itch.io or .io or whatever. Itchy, I don't know. But yeah. Sorry, I'm not going to get through this model at all. We barely got through it. I was a little worried we weren't going to get it, but it usually takes something like, for me, about 8 days to get through a whole model. One like this I've done in 4 or 5 hours. I think was the shortest I ever did one. The original Captain Crabs I think took me 2 days. Sorry. What's that?
So I'm actually a little more familiar with like VRChat.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe in VRChat they want us to use the audio to move the mouse, but VTubers do the face tracking to move the mouse.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like when I'm looking at it, like the audio tracking looks a little bit better, but is there like a reason to use one or the other?
For the audio tracking?
Yeah.
Can you do hybrid?
So VTube Studio only has the option to have one mic and then one other audio source. So, but basically what I do, like when I DJ, like you saw with the headphones, you can set that as your audio in, but I'm using the mic directly to OBS. So technically it's one source of audio then, coming into VTube Studio. There is, that I can show you real quick. I know we're out, aren't we? I'll show you real quick of this. There's so many advanced options you can do in this, but all right, so let's go here. All right, so if you go to camera, scroll down, way down, they have, like, this whole thing is lighting, so you can actually pick a screen and it'll project the lighting onto your character. So you can like make it a dark layer room when you're in a certain area, and when things light up, you'll see it affecting your character. It's pretty cool. They have a virtual webcam that's separate. You can record it. In here, there is mouse tracking right here. As you can see, it's tracking my mouse, but it thinks there's a second screen because of that screen. So it's not going, you can set like the dimensions of where it goes. I have it actually set to my Cintiq at home. So I can actually, it tracks my hand. So I can do a drawing hand. So it'll actually track where I'm at on the screen. And you can also track mouse clicks. So like if you click, it does something. Mm-hmm. And there's also, here's the microphone settings. There's the volume gain tweaks in that, but you can only have the one source. And then it connects to Twitch for the, this is for the emotes stuff, but. Yeah. Sorry, I don't think I can do much more because I think we're out, but. Question?
You said you picked up the claws now, eyebrow?
Yes.
Is that just a setting?
Yeah, so what I did was, there's 3 different settings for eyebrows. There's like this way, which doesn't really do much. I mean, I guess it's if people can squeeze their eyes together. And then there's like this rotation. What I do is I attach it when I go up and down. So like when I go up, my eyebrows, and it's really sensitive. So the claws go up. When I go down, they go down. So if I can kind of tweak my face to get one eyebrow down, you'll see the claws go separate. Also, I make his claws pinch when they go up and down. So they're animated to go like that. So he can do his little crab rave thing. Yeah. Any other? Okay. It's supposed to be, yeah. It's, I mean, I've done, you saw the animations with my character jumping and stuff like that. There actually is an animation tab where you can do full-on animations. Like, it's just like Flash used to be, or like, say, what it's called, Animate Now, I think they call it, or Toon Boom Studio, or any of those other animation programs. So you can do like a full-on production if you wanted to. Just make scenes. This would be a very long panel if I was going to go into animation, but it's pretty cool. I've been dabbling with it. I love it. I do it for like little triggerable animations. Like Capt Crabs can actually floss. He can do the whole like floss thing. He can jump around the screen, like actually animate, jump around. He can dab. He can do a dab. He can dab dance. Yeah, he can do a crab rave. He does a little crab rave animation. I have all these different. I do a lot of weird triggers. One of my characters, his head can fall off and roll down the screen. Like it's an animation where it just goes and it rolls off and then eventually goes back up his head. I mean, you can do, the sky's the limit really if you think about it, because you can set up triggers for anything or sliders for anything and then trigger them in the animation program. So they're really easy, just move it.
I've seen people like make actual crowns that just kind of like twirl around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a breathing animation that automatically, one of the things called breath, and it just goes like this, right, the entire time when you're running it. You can set it faster or slower. And what I'll do is I'll put things to that breath. So like you can have something you just want to like kind of be moving around. Say you want something like circling or something just kind of floating. You could actually put it to the breath. Also like breathing, like an actual character breathing, and it automatically does that. So your character will be breathing. You can set up your own custom ones like that automatically breathe by clicking breathe. And it'll just run that way. So like you want a separate trigger you can turn on and you want it to automatically move, you can do that. So you can get pretty advanced in this stuff. It can get pretty complicated, but yeah. What time's the next panel in here? We got a few minutes probably? Okay. Any other questions? Go for it. You want to do that? Okay. Hey guys.